Okay. It looks like the live stream is running. Okay. So I'm Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. And yesterday's debacle with the live stream was not directed at any individual that I could discern. There was reports of difficulty of varying degrees all around the world on YouTube. So I guess they were under some sort of attack, or they had a malfunction, or who knows what. I don't know what happened, but it did clear up a couple hours later and things worked out. Um, so today is Friday, uh, December 19, and it's 8:19 in the morning here in Israel. Cold last night. I had to sleep with the heater on, and what I have my heaviest blanket, which isn't sufficient, but with the heater it was. Okay. So we were in the mid 40s last night. We're 52 degrees today. The low will be 49, which will be a little bit easier to handle. And the high is going to be 64, which is a little easier to handle. Nope, 65, 65. At that temperature, I might be able to heat my hot water for free from the solar without having to uh, use the electric heater, which is expensive. Uh, the the lows aren't going to be too bad. They're going to be going up into the 50s over the weekend. And I think the worst we're going to get is like a week from tomorrow, 47. The highs are going to be in the 60s, the low 60s, maybe 65. No rain in sight, which probably need the rain, but we're not seeing it in sight. So what can I do? Not much. Okay. Uh, um, so what I'm going to cover today is, Trump and his latest excursion, which a lot of you probably don't know about. He put the military in Ecuador, supposedly for drugs. And who is he after in the world? Who is Trump gunning for? Well, I'll tell you. It's easy. He's gunning for Russia, right? Okay. He's gunning for Iran, right? He even attacked Iran. He's not apparently gunning for China. He's gunning for Ecuador. He put troops in there. He's gunning for Venezuela, and by his verbiage, he's gunning for Colombia. And I'm going to show you that this is all about oil, not the drugs. Okay? The biggest drug situation that hurts America is Mexico. How do you think the stuff gets in here? They don't very often go to an airplane and either on the carry-on or checked luggage put 6 kilos of heroin or cocaine or something like that. They don't do that. They're not lunatics. They have drug dogs. And they don't do that. They used to pass rumors that they have money dogs that smell money. Well, I don't know about that. I don't think it would work because every single person in the airport has money. And I don't know how you're going to tell the dog how much money you need to bark for and how much money you need to ignore. I don't think the dog works that way. Everybody's got money. Okay. The UPS people years ago had gypsies infiltrated the UPS, got jobs as drivers. I was told it was gypsies. I read it. And they had dogs they trained for money, to detect money. And you would predominantly be detecting American money. So the driver, they had dogs that would do this. So the driver would meet, well, actually, the guy with the dog would meet the driver on the route. They'd stop and talk, and they'd put the dog in the truck, and the dog would go through the packages, which probably took 4 or 5 minutes at most, and bark or scratch or whatever he did when he smelled money. And they would steal that package. Why? Well, UPS wouldn't insure money, and these people shipping money were not legit, you know what I mean? So they wouldn't declare it, and they wouldn't report the theft. And sometimes they'd have $100,000 in there. Bookmakers doing a payoff was that way. Somebody owed money to a bookmaker. Different things would happen. People were buying product with cash. Once in the 70s, I was in the garment center. I was in some office. I didn't know the people or anything. I just happened to be in there. And the guy gets a FedEx. He looked at me and some other people I was with. He figured we were okay. And then he opened up the FedEx. It was a box. And he had a box full of money. It's a lot of money. These people got so much money, they don't sit up and worry about losing $15,000 or $20,000, $30,000, you know. So they started robbing the FedEx, those UPS or FedEx, probably both of them, robbing them because these people wouldn't report the crime. Now, maybe they found a box where there was, $50 in it or something. I don't know. They might just close it up and deliver it, because that kind of person would probably report it, and they didn't need the aggravation. It would be a black mark against the driver. These drivers didn't care about working for UPS or FedEx. All they cared about was robbing the money. Okay. Let me go see if I can get the live stream on YouTube now. Probably can, although I'm not all that certain. That was the first problem we had yesterday. No, I'm not seeing it either again today. I wonder what's wrong. Or maybe, no, it's there. I just can't open it. Let me see if it'll open. No. So how am I going to do this? Let me try going in on a different browser. I think I got this to work yesterday. Let me try it again. They're so annoying. They keep changing everything over there. Like they're making it better, but every time they do it, they just make it worse. Okay. I'm here. Now I gotta get to the search. Oh, this is a different. I'll figure this out in a second. There we go. This might work. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got it. Working good. I just got to go in another browser, not using my account. Working good. I just got to go in another browser, not using my account. Working good. All right. I can't post in the chat though. That's a problem. I can't post in the chat though. If I sign in, it's going to blow it. If I sign in, it's going to blow it. This is a problem. Let me turn the volume down. See if I can turn this off now. What I want to turn off. Oh, this YouTube is such a royal pain in the neck. All right, I can't see how many people are in there. Let me see if I can read it on this. Such a problem. Maybe I can post using this idiot thing. Let me see. How would I post? Should be a way. Sorry about all this delay, but it's such a problem working with this company, YouTube. Let's see. Well, I could read the chat till it goes away. All right. I think we're gonna have to live without it. All right. So, I can't put my link for PayPal up there, but it is in the description box towards the bottom, in the description box for the video. If you need to get the PayPal and you can't get to the description box because YouTube's so messed up, just send me an email. My email is Israel Giving with the number 7 at Gmail. So it's one word, Israel Giving, then the digit 7 at gmail.com. And you could write me. Okay. I still need some more help to get through the month at the end of the month. I got a snafu with them. I had some money in PayPal that was in Canadian and pound, British pounds, and American dollars, and I can't send that to my bank. Even though my bank accepts dollars, I can't get it to go. And they no longer convert. It used to be they would just convert from foreign currency to shekels and send it to the bank. Now they don't do that. So I don't know how I'm going to get that done, but I don't think it's a tremendous amount of money. I could use it to, I don't know what I can do with it. I might be able to, I don't know. I'm at a loss. This is something new that I didn't hear from. You people that are not in Israel, not in PayPal, Israel could convert your money. I can't. Now, I used to be able to, if I make a purchase it'll convert it to whatever I want to make the purchase in. So if I want to buy something in euros, it'll convert all the currencies and let me make the purchase. But to put it in the bank, it doesn't do that. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's become a problem. So I still need a little bit of a push to get through the month. Not a tremendous amount, but I need it. So I appreciate what you've done, and I hope I get more help because I'm going to need a little bit more help. And I don't plan on this ever happening again. But it wasn't, I don't, it's up to what the people do with offerings. I had some really bad dry spells. So, all right, enough on that. So I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. What I'm going to do is go through the news. I'm going to go through Trump, and I'm going to show you what he's really doing. And it's really pretty sick. And when I get finished showing it to you, you're all going to agree with me, I believe. It's so obvious. But the people don't know it because nobody researched it and thought about it. So I believe the Lord shows me these things. And then I show it to you. Okay. So I verify everything as best I can, which is usually pretty good. Do I have prayer requests? I don't see any. All right, let's go through some things. I just want to tell you, this is kind of for what we're going to cover in a few minutes, but Venezuela holds the world's largest oil reserves, okay? And you heard me, holds the world's largest oil reserves, and that's who Trump's focusing on. Put that away for later. A Second Amendment clash has popped up in between the United States federal government and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, when you go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, they got federal police there that, I don't know, Homeland Security, I think. They got the same badges and uniforms as the Homeland Security in Florida or New York. Okay. They hire ones that live there. I don't think the U.S. Virgin Islands has much in terms of industry. Maybe there's something going on there that I don't know about, but it's predominantly a tourism destination. And it's a very violent place. The U.S. government sued the U.S. Virgin Islands territory. Now, I don't understand how they sue them. I believe they collect the taxes for U.S. income taxes in the Virgin Islands, and the government just turns it all back over to them, which is what I believe goes on in Puerto Rico too. Maybe it changed over the years, but I'm pretty sure that's what it used to be. So it's a Second Amendment problem. The police department and the police commissioner, named Mario Brooks, on Tuesday accused them of constructing a system that's designed to deny people their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. The U.S. Virgin Islands is requiring that applicants for a gun or a gun permit demonstrate good reason to fear death or great injury. See, this has been changed years ago. This is how the police departments in the states kept people from getting guns. They wanted you to justify what the reason was to have a gun. And they would turn people down unless you were a celebrity. Like Trump had a New York City carry permit when he wasn't president. Robert De Niro had one, or still does, and other celebrities and other rich people. But if you're not worth $100 million or something, forget it. So they got rid of those laws. Show cause or proof why you need to have this gun. Why, somebody threatening you didn't count, all this kind of sick stuff, right? You could also establish great injury to your property, which is really stupid. And to have two credible persons to vouch for their need of a firearm. So if you got a mayor or a senator or somebody like that, you were in. So it was a corrupt system. Local law also required that someone have good moral character to obtain a gun permit. What the heck is good moral character? You're rich and you worship Satan? That's what it would be, which is valid for up to 3 years and applies to a single weapon. So every time you wanted to buy another gun, you'd had to go through the process. See how sick it is, The lawsuit states that no specific standard has been set or defined for the requirement of character. It also claims that the defendants regularly refuse to issue permits to those who, by law, are deemed to be an improper person by the territory's police commissioner. It's just stupid, So I don't know why they wound up suing them. I mean, I don't understand that. They're going to take the money away from the Virgin Islands, and then they'll just come back and ask America for more money. So I really don't understand any of that, but I pretty much believe the Virgin Islands will settle out with them because they're wrong. The Arab countries, it's turning out, will not send forces to Gaza because if they do, the truth is going to come out about what's going on. And if any Arab force clashes with Hamas, their own people are going to rise up against them and have a jihad or an intifada against their own administration. So they're not about to do it. Any Arab force fighting them would be seen as fighting against Allah himself, okay? Because they think that Allah's, wants this to happen, you know. The United States put sanctions on two ICC, International Criminal Court, judges personally, citing the court's politicized actions targeting Israel. Now, Trump's been touting a blockade against Venezuela, but it's a limited blockade. It's not a broad general blockade or siege. What Maduro is saying about this will be as follows, I'll tell you. We will never be an American colony. All right, I don't know about that, but okay. Maduro again calls on Colombia to unite with Venezuela. You see, Trump has been threatening Colombia as well as Venezuela, telling Colombia they're next. And Maduro is telling Colombia that we should once again form what's called a Gran Colombia, Gran Colombia. Now, you probably never heard of Gran Colombia because it goes back to the early 1800s, and it only lasted for 12 years, and Simon Bolivar, what is he, a conquistador or something, was behind it. It was a large republic formed after they got themselves independent from Spain, intended to unite much of Spanish South America into one strong nation. While Spain was a Spanish-speaking country, they were across the ocean in Europe, okay? The territories of Gran Colombia roughly covers what today is called Colombia, Venezuela, how about that? And Ecuador, and Panama. Let's see, does Trump have American troops in Panama? My golly, he does. Does Trump now have troops in Ecuador? He does. Does Trump have troops in Venezuela? Well, they're not inside Venezuela, but they're loitering around all over the place. And what about Colombia? No, we're just at the threatening stage with them. How about this? Gee, why doesn't Hannity and the others tell you about this? More. Let's do more on this. At its height, it was one of the largest countries in the Americas. Gran Colombia was Simon Bolivar's attempt to unite northern and southern, northern actually South America, into one powerful republic after independence from Spain, but internal division caused it to collapse, and it lasted about 12 years. So it didn't have a long run. But some of these people never forgot it and are thinking about bringing it back. Okay? So now we're starting to open up Trump a little bit to you. But we're going to get into it deeper. All right. We'll get into it, but let's Now, I didn't hear any comment from Colombia as to what they felt about, with this. All right. There was Israeli civilians that actually crossed into the Gaza Strip, and they attempted to breach the border. Well, they apparently got in. Groups of Israelis attempted to cross the border with Gaza in two separate incidents. Within a short period of time. The IDF said that IDF troops in the area returned them to their territory back to Israel. The civilians were under constant monitoring, which I believe, by IDF observation units. That just shows what the Israeli people want. They want to take Gaza over. They want to get rid of the Palestinians. And of course, that gives Netanyahu chills and keeps him up at night. We now have another Trump failed ceasefire. Again, Thailand carries out more attacks on Cambodia in this deadly border conflict. So he fabricated a story, I believe, about him making a peace deal between them. He just manufactured it. There's no peace deal. Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, did a protest blocking roads in southern Israel after Jerusalem clashes, and 8 were arrested in Ashkelon. So they're clashing all over the place. They don't want to go with the military. They want the non-ultra-Orthodox Jews, who they consider inferior and historical Jews, they should go die, not them. No politician, I think, would take them that serious. Well, they have in the past. They never drafted them. But I mean, it's sick that they're doing this. Netanyahu is fighting tooth and nail to keep them out of the draft. He'll do anything, anything. Let me get back and find my place. All right. So we don't know if they're going to try unification here like this. I would think it would just be limited to Venezuela and Colombia, but you don't know what Bolivia and Brazil would do. You don't know. So police stopped a bus near Ashdod after learning protesters planned to rally at a military police officer's home. Oh, they hate that. After buses were barred from Ashkelon, organizers urged road blockades. After false alerts spread, fears of draft arrests were spreading. People, ultra-Orthodox, getting arrested for not reporting to the military. It saw the police withdraw and return, and involved overturned patrol cars and stun grenades, and left 5 police officers hospitalized. This is really getting to be a bad thing, and Netanyahu refuses to do the right thing here and go to fairness. Democracies are supposed to be fair. Well, this is about as fair as the U.S. Virgin Islands gun permit policy. It's not fair. It's worse than that. So Netanyahu's the curse on Israel. That's my opinion. Okay. Bogus, exaggerated news coming from the preppers and the gun people and the survivalists and stuff like that. They run news channels. They sell survival supplies. They're there to scare you, so you buy survival goods. Do they get offerings? Yeah, people give them offerings. People think they're doing them a great favor. They listen to what's called EAM messages. It's an emergency action message. Can they possibly understand what these messages are? Not a chance. They talk about, this was the biggest message we saw in 3 months. It had so many characters. I mean, what's wrong with these people? They talk about nuclear planes. I don't know what a nuclear plane is. I don't think it exists. They talk about aircraft going from D.C. to that mountain in Colorado, and then they guess as to who's being evacuated. They don't even know if anybody's being evacuated. They could be bringing materials over there or computers or who knows what. They tell you B-52s were flying in Montana or Texas or Ohio or something. Okay, you're an American pilot. You're qualified to fly a certain amount of aircraft. You have to have so many hours over a period of time flying that plane or you lose your rating. So why is it so unusual to see a B-52 pilot flying around America? It's not. It has to happen. If you're flying a tanker plane, to refuel, right? You got to have hours on the plane too. So that's one way they get you scared. And they don't know anything about emergency action messages. And they don't know how to track planes. When something serious is going on, the planes shut off their transponders and they can't track them. Nor can they tell how many planes are in the air, nor can they tell where they're going. So it's nonsense. They can tell about cargo planes when they're not shutting the transponders. That they can tell. Or fighter planes or any other kind of plane where they don't shut the transponder. They can tell that. And the same with with ships. But if America doesn't want them to know, they won't know. Now, there's some people in social media are saying Congress approved Trump's attack on Venezuela. Now, this is such a lie. Let me tell you what really went on. Congress has not passed any authorization bill, law, or anything putting its blessings on an attack of any size or nature against Venezuela. So there's nothing that they passed authorizing war or strikes of any sort against Venezuela. Now, they're saying that Congress gave it the okay. Well, what happened in the last couple of days is not exactly that at all. The U.S. House of Representatives voted down efforts that would have forced the administration to get explicit congressional approval, okay, so they made sure they stopped any efforts to make sure Trump had to get explicit congressional approval, war powers side, limited for further military action tied to the Venezuela drug cartel campaign. Okay, so does that mean they approved it? It's a stretch to say that. They said Trump didn't have to go to them for approval. Okay. Reporting describes ongoing U.S. military actions in the region, Venezuela, strikes on suspected trafficking vessels as being carried out under the administration's legal rationale for a fresh Congress-approved war authorization. But the bottom line is Congress did not approve any strikes, attack, or war against Venezuela. It declined to rein in the administration by getting them forced into getting permission from Congress. Okay? So does it mean Congress approved it because they told Trump that he doesn't have to get their approval for this? It's a big stretch. Congress was basically telling them how they were interpreting the War Powers Act, not sanctioning a war against Venezuela. So this appears to be a gross misrepresentation designed to scare people into thinking, oh, we're going to have a big war in Venezuela. That's not the case. So they want these people to get scared and go out and buy survival supplies from them, and they make a commission. That's what it's about, period. And they do that. I see this every day in big popular sites with hundreds of thousands and in cases millions of subscribers. NATO or the EU are going to do sneak attacks on Russia. This is another over-bloated news story currently floating around all over the place, I believe. It's going around. No, there's no credibility for this. Let me explain. NATO and or the European countries are not preparing for a sneak attack against Russia. First of all, there's no such thing anymore as a sneak attack. With all the drones and over the horizon radar and other things, they see these things coming. Come on. That's the first thing. Second is there's no credible evidence that NATO is secretly planning a surprise offensive war on the Russian territory. Does Ukraine do these things? Yeah, every week, every day, just about. And Russia does them to Ukraine, but it's not going on against Europe or NATO countries. What's happening instead is NATO and Europe are preparing for defense and planning contingencies, not a covert, secret, surprise at bonsai attack or anything, What the reliable reporters are showing would come out like this. There is currently no credible evidence that Russia is secretly preparing a sudden military invasion, i.e. sneak attack against NATO or Europe or European countries or the U.S. What security analysts do observe are military buildups and exercises and planning, but these are not the same as imminent surprise attacks. They are generally defensive in nature, deterrent measures, or planning for hypothetical scenarios. So let's say Germany brought, several $1 billion of our Arrow 2 system. That's a defensive system. It's not offensive. You see what I'm saying? So it's being grievously exaggerated to scare people that they're going to make a sneak attack. There's no such thing as a sneak attack anymore. In World War II, they would take convoys of ships, frequently over 100 ships, naval ships, and they would sneak them across oceans because the enemy had no way to find them unless they happened to fly over the convoy. And then they wouldn't know where the heck the convoy was going for sure, but they took great pains to make sure that didn't happen. Now, let's take a look at U.S. troops in Ecuador to fight drugs. This is a farce. Does Ecuador have any oil? Let's see. Well, yeah, only 8 billion with a B barrels, only 8 billion barrels. Gee, and Trump's fighting the drugs, huh? Just like Venezuela, huh? Just like Colombia got oil. Let me get into it with Colombia has oil. Ecuador could produce 1 million barrels a day for 21. That's double what they produce now. They produce about 500,000 barrels a day. So at 8 billion, okay, what can happen is Ecuador can produce, assume Americans come in and run it better, they would double it. probably triple it, but let's say double it. So they get it up to 1 million barrels a day, and that would run for 21 years. You know how much money that is? I'll tell you, with just using today's prices, which is unrealistic, but okay, because it'll inflate. That in general, it runs to $60 million a day for 21 years at today's price point, which is, I use $60. This comes to about $22 billion a year. You think you could live off that? Or a total of $462 billion. So that's just a little bit under $500 billion. This assumes doubling their production to 1 million barrels a day, and it assumes the price doesn't go over $100 a barrel, but it'll probably go to 200 or even up to 500. So you're talking massive money. So is Trump trying to secure oil around the world for American oil companies that will be very grateful to Trump, in my opinion, and there'll be ways of making Trump smile. And Trump smiles over money because he believes that he who dies with the most toys wins, or you tell me what he believes if it's not that. So if oil triples or quadruples in price, you're talking trillions of dollars of oil just in Ecuador, okay? So is Trump really interested in the drugs down there in Ecuador? No. But I know you need more convincing than this, so we're going to give it to you. Well, you heard Trump threaten Colombia for drugs, right? Okay, let's talk Colombia oil and catch Trump with his pants down. Proven oil reserves of between 1.7 and 2 billion barrels of oil. They make roughly 700 to 800,000 barrels a day. Now, this is nothing to sneeze about, especially when you're looking at oil at $200 a barrel or something like that, right? Okay, it's a fortune. It would probably go into $1 trillion. So that explains Colombia. See what an abomination this schmuck is, Trump? Now, let's not stop with oil. Let's talk about liquid natural gas, LNG. Do they have that in Colombia? Yeah. How much does Colombia have? Well, only 2 to 3 trillion cubic feet. Trillion cubic feet. A trillion is 1,000 billion. Duh, what has our boy Trump really been up to? I'll tell you where this all goes, but let's go on. Who else has Trump started up with? Well, Russia and Iran, two big oil producers. Oh, gee. So what is this jerk Trump really doing? He's finding his way to get, change of the administration in these countries to somebody that's going to be a puppet for Trump. And the American oil companies are going to move back in. And they'll pay something to the government, but a ton of it is going to go into America. And then the taxes on their money is going to go to Trump. And what do you think Trump's going to do with the money? You think Trump's going to kill income taxes, and the next time they redo disability and veterans money and Social Security retirement and all that, instead of lying to the people and giving them a 2.5 or whatever the heck it was increase, give them the true increase, which would probably be 15 or 20%. Yeah, think he'll do that? I don't think he'll ever do that. But what did Trump just do the other day? He didn't give the American people on disability and retirement, they don't do anything for Trump. And veteran people that are out of the military, they don't, what do they do for Trump? Nothing. So we didn't get any stipend. No. Who did he give money to the other day? He gave every member of the military, which is about 1.5 million people, $1,776 as a grant. In other words, a freebie. So he don't care about the civilians who don't do him any good. He wants to boost morale with the American soldiers. So that's a good piece of change that, any soldier's going to feel, except maybe a major or a colonel will feel it, but it's not going to be that, much. Or some of these special forces guys, they get so much, different kind of pay. They get, parachuting pay. They could get nuclear pay. They get combat pay. They get special forces pay. They get this pay. They get that pay. Some of them could be making over $100,000 a year, $150,000 if they're an officer, maybe, right? That's a lot of money for soldiers, right? So they're not going to feel the 1776. Oh, they'd be glad they got it, but most of them will feel it in a good way. So he's interested in the military, not the we the people of America. You got it? Okay. So it's not just oil, it's going to be LNG too. And the money is going to go into the American coffers. And and also the tariff money that he's not giving to we the people of America is going to go into the American coffers, their treasury. And what are they going to do with that money? What Trump's going to do with that money is going to be portrayed as MAGA. But the homeless people are still going to be homeless. The unemployed are going to be sucking wind. People getting thrown out of their house is going to be getting thrown out of their house and all this stuff. He's not going to care about any of that. Okay? He's going to put it into the war machine. And what Trump is going to do is probably double the military. So what do I mean? You're going to go from 1.5 million to 3 million. Now that's going to be spread. The Coast Guard's going to expand, the Marines, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy. It's going to expand, but differently than in the past. Trump ain't going around building any capital ships like super expensive aircraft carriers. He's afraid to use the ones he has. He's finished with those, I think. There's going to be a tremendous investment in putting missile defense systems up all around the United States. The most efficient way to do that would be on all the borders. So when stuff comes in from outside the United States, it could get taken down. So they don't have to put them in every city. Now, he has to have not just things that take out missiles and drones, he's going to need aircraft to take out aircraft as well. So they're developing a new stealth jet that's superior to the F-35. They got prototypes that work. They're probably in production. So when Trump gets this new plane just about ready to fly, in numbers, he'll sell the F-35s to a lot of people he won't sell them to now and make the money because they can't be that effectively used against America. Now, will he sell those to Israel if prophetic time allows, which I highly doubt it ever would? Yeah. So Netanyahu will take all the money Israel's been getting and turn it around and buy, 30 or 40 of these advanced fighter planes. Okay? Now, Trump's going to build up a lot of drones. He's probably going to build up naval drones, air drones, all kinds of things, He's going to have a whole different kind of military. A lot of the stuff will be mechanized. They'll start working for robot soldiers. They don't have it yet. They don't have anything that can walk and talk like a real live soldier and shoot and go into combat. It's easy for them to armor the robot. It would just increase the weight, but they could armor the thing. It might be too expensive and slow it down, so it might be more economical than not bother. So there'll be drone tanks, drone mobile artillery, all kinds of stuff, And that's what Trump's trying to do. See, what Trump wants to do is fight a war without fighting a war. Trump wants to go to Venezuela and scare them so bad they just submit. Is that working out for him? No, it's failing left, right, and center. But that's what he wants to do. Can he get there someday? Maybe. Depends how long things last. So he's going after the oil because the oil is a great way to rack up money, especially when it's very likely it's going to double or triple. And then there's so much money on the line. If gas is $200 a barrel, do you know how much money that is? So the American oil companies are going to pay a percentage on their profits, probably about 23% on their profits. The rest of it they could keep. And that goes to Israel, goes to the American government. So they're going to start loading up. And instead of being a nice president and bringing the people's income taxes down, he's not. He's just going to leave it all the same or raise it, That's all he's going to do. People will realize what a bad guy he is soon. I know a lot of the preppers and survivalists and gun people know it already, and they talk openly about it like I do. He's cowardly and stuff like that. He is. But if he gets up to 3 million in his military and he puts on another 250 really advanced planes and he gets himself 40 or 50,000 drones, some serious, that kind of number, and a lot of missile defense systems around America, he's going to be more aggressive. And he doesn't want to get into fights. He wants to be so big that they don't fight him. So then he could wage a war without waging a war, just by flexing the muscles of his military. Now, the problem is this for Trump and America, is that you know what he's doing, and I know what he's doing, and the mussies know what he's doing. So when we see the people attacking America in Jeremiah 15:51, they sound just like mussies. And that's probably because they are. Because they got oil, and they know Trump's going to gun for their oil too. So when you look at the stimulus package he gave to the American military of $1,776 to commemorate 1776, you get the idea where Trump is headed, or you should. Okay? He just wants to run around and be the Caesar of the world. You know how, the hammer of the whole earth, the great voice. That's Trump. That's Trump. And he's not doing too good. It's not working out very well for him. It's working out very badly for him. Okay. Christmas. Should you go and observe Christmas festivities, parties, celebrations, and so forth? And we also should deal with Christmas music. Now, let's knock off the Christmas music very quickly and easily. First of all, Christmas is a pagan celebration. Yeshua was never born on December 25th. Anybody that lives in Israel will tell you. All of the things are wrong. The weather, everything. And he would have been the firstborn of the sheep, which would have been in February, probably, or possibly early March, very early March. But he would have been the firstborn of the sheep before the regular sheep, bah, bah, before they started dropping their young. He would have been born. Now, you can say there's no scripture to that effect, and I think you probably can imply it from scripture, but okay. But December 25th, no, the weather was all wrong. Okay. And that Jeremiah says they take a tree and they put silver and gold tinsel on it. Well, that's exactly what they do with a Christmas tree. They put gold and silver tinsel on it. There's shiny stuff with string on it, right? Then they put graven images on it. You shall not make an image of anything above or under the earth or on the earth. Well, they make images of angels and they put them on there. Then they put a pentagram, a 5-star satanic symbol, on the top of the Christmas tree. It's also on the American flag times 50, but I'm not going to dwell on that. But it's true. And they have a 2 Corinthians 11:4. They have another gospel, they have another Jesus, and they receive another spirit. It's not the real gospel, nor is it the real Yeshua. There's no J in the Hebrew alphabet. So God the Father could not be what do they call him? They don't call him whatever they call him with a J, and they call Yeshua Jesus. There's no such word in Hebrew as Jesus. What do they call? I mean, I'm so stuck in the Hebrew. What do they call Jesus? And I forget the name. It's a phony name they have for Father God. It can't be with a J. It doesn't exist in Hebrew. So Satan's making up names for himself. Satan goes by many different names. Okay. Some people say Satan Claus. Well, I don't know. I never heard Satan call himself Santa. Now, Santa is not a universal thing. In Russia and I think the Nordic countries, they don't have Santa. They have the Snow Queen, which is a similar fairy tale of demonic nature. Then they have some other demon type thing associated with Christmas in other parts of Europe where it punishes the kids, not gives them coal when they're stocking, punishes them, hurts them, or something like that. It creates a lot of fear in the kids. Santa is rewarding the kids based on a worldly system. Okay? Does Santa reward the kids because of the way they respect Jehovah and Yeshua and follow the commandments of Yeshua? Heck no. No, you could be an atheist and be smack dab, well liked by Santa. And then they got Santa living in the North Pole where nobody's living in the North Pole like that. They got Santa with a factory of elves, which you could call demons, right? Making toys for the kids. Demons don't make good things for children. If they made anything for children, it would be Ouija boards, and they don't even do that. So that's false. They don't do that. And the demons living at the North Pole, oh, come on. And then Santa's a magical person. Okay, he visits many millions of children around the world in one 24-hour period. Or less even, Christmas Eve. And that's a falsehood. And he has a magic sled that flies in the air, being pulled by flying reindeer, one of whom has a red nose that glows, named Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. All this is junk. So the Christmas tree does meet the test of Jeremiah 10 as being a demonic idol, and I will read you the scriptures. Jeremiah 10. And the trick is what verse? Probably early on. It's right up there. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest. Bingo, Christmas tree. The work of the hands of the workman absolutely swings the axe, or uses today the chainsaw with the axe. They deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. They deck it. Now they probably got that song from the King James version. They deck it with silver and with gold. There's your tinsel. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. Well, they take a cross piece of wood that's usually pretty long, and they nail it together into the base of the tree, and sometimes they put it in a bucket of water to keep it moist during the holiday. So if you're going to stretch it from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, you're going to need that water. You probably need to fill it up twice or something. And of course, the tree moves not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born. You want to move them, they're not going to move. You got to walk, you got to pick them up and drag them around, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. It's a nothing. It's a piece of wood. For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Jehovah, thou art great, and thy name is great in might. Now, you don't have Christmas trees in the Bible in any good way. Here it is. It's not called a Christmas tree. Now, Christmas means Mass for Christ, right? Right. That comes from the Catholic Church, right? Right. What is their definition of Mass? Well, I've looked it up in their literature. When they hold Mass, what they teach and what they're taught, the priests, is that every time a person, a Catholic person takes the Eucharist, is at the wafer, and drinks the wine or the grape juice, that Christ, in other words, Yeshua, is drawn down from heaven, whether he likes it or not, and re-crucified again for each person that does Mass. So on a Sunday, the Catholics got, millions and millions of people, and the Presbyterians and the Episcopalians are doing the same garbage, right? They think they're dragging Christ down out of heaven to be re-crucified again for them, whether or not Yeshua likes it or not. This is the most absurd nonsense you could imagine, but it's real. And that's what Christmas means, Mass for Christ. So it is very dirty and wicked and evil. Now, many of you, when you got saved, before you got saved, you liked to listen to music. Some of you still listen to music today, but there's music and there's music, right? Okay. I myself enjoy jazz. I also enjoy orchestra music and other things. Now let's go back to the bad music that was really wicked in the 60s and 70s and was always wicked and still is. Like AC/DC and people like that singing really evil songs, the Rolling Stones, sympathy for the devil and all this stuff. The Beatles were pretty bad. So you got saved, and what did you do shortly after you got saved? You got rid of your Rolling Stones and AC/DC and other satanic groups. You got rid of that music, didn't you? Sure you did. I hope you did. Now, you got rid of that music, and you're going to go around and play Christmas songs in your house and celebrate a evil, demonic holiday that is purporting to drag Yeshua down out of heaven and re-crucify him for every person that observes this Christmas Mass. So when they're holding a Christmas Mass, they're telling the people that they're re-crucifying Yeshua millions and millions of times on his birthday, which is not his birthday. So I set the stage. Should you now attend Christmas celebrations? Do you want to now? Okay, you know what's really going on. The churches never teach you what's really going on. I do. You can verify any of this. So, do you want to go to a Christmas celebration where they got a log upright with wooden cross pieces to keep it balanced? And they're putting pagan idol angels and reindeer and other things on the tree, plus a pentagram at the top. And they're putting presents underneath it. And on top of that, they're telling their children that this Santa schmuck idea is real. And he's going to bring toys. Were you naughty or nice? Well, Santa doesn't work by God's standards. It's absurd. So what do you do if your relatives want to invite you to a Christmas dinner? If they're not believers, that's one thing. Okay, if they don't say they're believers, if you're the only one that says you're a believer, they don't say they're Christian, they don't go to church, do you still want to go? I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I would just say, no, I don't want to go for a Christmas thing. What about a Christmas office party? Well, a lot of those are just going to be sprung on you, okay? Where you're going to be at work and they're just going to, probably today would be the day most offices would do. Maybe not. Let me look at it. When the heck let me look. It might be next week. It's a little early. It's probably next. Let me go look at a calendar and I'll tell you. So Christmas falls on a Tuesday. No, it would be today, or some of the offices may have had it already. They may have had it on Wednesday or Thursday. No, wait a second. I had the wrong month. I'm sorry. Let me try again. No. It'll probably be next week. Next week, Christmas is Thursday. I had it wrong. So if it's Thursday, they'll probably have the Christmas parties between Monday and Wednesday. They won't have them today. Some companies might, but probably between Monday and Wednesday. So they'll just have an afternoon where everybody will stop working and some will have presents, exchange presents, and they'll have a tree. It's going to vary. In some companies, there's no present, there's no tree. They'll just stop and have a Christmas party. And then they hand out Christmas bonuses or year-end bonuses to people. And they'll have eggnog or booze and, various levels of food. If you're working for a big rich corporation, they'll have a buffet maybe with hors d'oeuvres. If you're working for a small company, they'll have, chips and salsa and potato chips and pretzels and peanuts and sodas and beers and wine and booze. A lot of companies have to be very careful about serving alcohol, because if they serve alcohol and they let somebody get drunk, and then that somebody has their car and says, "Oh, what the heck, I'm not going to leave my car here," and gets in the car and drives and has a wreck and causes that, they'll sue the company. The lawyers will say, "No, come on, we'll sue the company. Company has insurance, don't worry about it." And they'll try to take the company for $1 million. So they may restrain the alcohol these days, but when I was working for companies many years ago, they would uh, have a party and have liquor. I never went for it, but okay. I think when I got saved, I got fired shortly thereafter. I was a sales manager in Silicon Valley, and they asked me to lie to the salesman about some contest, and I refused to do it. And then a few days later, I got fired. And then I worked briefly for another company a few years later, and I got fired from that one. After that, other than that, I was basically self-employed. Once I had a partnership that fell apart with an unbeliever. I was a brand new believer. I was, and with that, I was pretty much self-employed. Like, I was running an office, and I was in San Francisco area, and he was down in LA, so I was pretty much on my own. But that's what happened, and so I really didn't have much time at all working in a corporate setting. I was self-employed. I probably never should have took the jobs that I took when I was working, and I should have just stayed self-employed. But anyway, I remember when I wasn't saved, some of these Christmas parties, and they didn't always have liquor. Not everybody did it. Not everybody did it. Look, in the San Francisco Bay Area, they had Halloween things. They did Christmas. They did Thanksgiving. I remember we had a retail thing going on once, and we decorated for Thanksgiving with the cardboard turkeys and the pilgrims and all of that. And then it was retail. And then another holiday would come. Before that was Halloween. We decorated for Halloween. And then we decorated for Christmas, and New Year's. We didn't really decorate for. I used to take off, and the guy that owned the place would take. I was like managing it. Yeah, I guess I was. Well, I wasn't exactly an employee, so I was really like I was getting a piece of the action. So I wasn't really, an employee, but he had the ability to fire me. and it ended with selling the business, and I got a piece of it. But anyway, we put decorations up, but I was pretty much like self-employed. I did that at times. I worked for different entities. Yeah.
Gotta be in Tiberias to pick up my refund. Your breakfast is on a plate on the stovetop.
Okay. I'm gonna need. Okay. I'm out of funds for Shosh, by the way.
It would be nice to have a heads up a little early on this.
Yeah, but yesterday was, I'm pretty much out. Okay.
Plan ahead, please, and don't slap me with this at the last minute when you need it.
So yeah, I wouldn't go to the parties. I work for Jewish guys sometimes, and you know they didn't have a Christmas party, and they didn't bother with a Hanukkah party. They'd say Happy Hanukkah. I would, they're celebrating a pagan festival, and it's Mass for Christ. That's what Christmas means, Mass for Christ. And it's pretty bad. It's the Catholic thing. And, the so called Christian churches do it. They have singing Christmas trees. That's a funny way of making a pagan altar, isn't it? They use the people in the church. I wouldn't run around playing the music. I did it years ago in America. I'd put the Christmas stuff on in the radio when I was driving, and you'd hear the music. I wouldn't do it. You're celebrating Mass for Christ, really, and it's an evil thing. It's idolatrous and everything. I wouldn't do it. So, what would be so important that you had to go to a family Christmas dinner? That's celebrating a pagan holiday in its very lowest form. And why do you got to do that? I don't think you should if you could get out of it. I mean, would you go to a Halloween party? No, I don't think you would. Hey, we got a Halloween party. It's a family event. Bring the kids, come. We're all going to dress up as ghouls and goblins and Frankensteins and Draculas. And, yeah, would you go? You know, why? Why would you go? That's one thing you like about Israel. You don't get trick or treaters in Halloween. Thanksgiving here doesn't exist. Christmas here doesn't exist. I'm sorry to say, New Year's does exist. Yeah.
Okay, so my trip out just got longer. I need you to feed the dogs.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Okay, and remember the phone is broken. You're not going to be able to get a hold of it with consistency.
Yeah. So it's just yeah, just there's a number of these other holidays. Is Thanksgiving that evil? I don't think it's as evil as the other holidays like Halloween and Christmas, but what are you celebrating? I don't know. I don't know. The Europeans that came were not really nice to the Indians. They were setting them up and then they were killing them. So what's so great about that? I don't know what to tell you. That one, I would refrain from it. I mean, better safe than sorry. I wouldn't bother with it. I mean, it's not biblical, so you're under no obligation to do it. And you could say it's an American tradition, and I would have to say, yeah, it is. 4th of July. Well, what are you celebrating on the 4th of July? The birth of the daughter of Babylon, right? I mean, get real, guys. Get with the scriptures. Do you want to celebrate the birth of the daughter of Babylon? You know? Do you want to celebrate President's Day? I mean, these things are always evil, you know? Do you want to celebrate Valentine's Day? Saint Valentine? Shoot somebody with an arrow and they fall in love with somebody? I mean, that's a sick thing, you know? The holidays are generally a sick thing. New Year's Day, number one, that's not New Year's, biblically speaking, so why celebrate it? I rest my case. And we're not told to celebrate the new year. We're supposed to celebrate the appearance of the new moon every month. That's a feast day. I mean, if we're going to still do it, are we still going to do that? Probably. With the temple, I think probably. We'll find out more as we go along, but maybe we won't. I don't know. I'd have to dig into it, but you really should refrain from getting into the Christmas spirit and doing presents. Any of this is celebrating one of the most vile, wicked pagan fests you could have. The Halloween is a pretty bad one, but Christmas is really worse. And of course, it's Catholic. The Christian churches are really from the Catholics. They don't like to admit it. They like to play games and say they were reform. Well, the Catholics were losing control. So what they did is they made up their own church and make it look like they rebelled against, but it was still Satan controlling it. It was just a spin-off, that's all. From my understanding, all the English translations going back to Tyndale and Wycliffe and everything else, I can't imagine that they knew Hebrew. And I can't imagine they twisted the scriptures. So they didn't know much about Hebrew, but they knew a lot about twisting the scriptures. So I would say take a pass on. You know, it's like you're helping people believe in a pagan feast day. Now let's go through some scriptures. So if you got rid of your AC/DC, Rolling Stones, etc., rock music with the evil stuff in it, which is pretty evil, you know, don't revert back with Christmas. It's evil too. Let's do a few scriptures. 1 Corinthians 5:11. It's all King James. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, covetous, or an idolater. Well, the Christmas tree puts it into idolatry, okay? Or a railer, screaming and yelling, a drunkard, or an extortioner, would such a one know not to eat. Now, that's if they say they're a Christian. If they don't say they're a Christian and they do these things, you are certainly allowed to fellowship with them. Otherwise, how the heck would you evangelize them? But that doesn't mean you hang out with them and, you know, while they're shooting heroin and robbing banks or whatever they're going to do. It means you could go to them and get friendly with them and try to lead them to the Lord. But you have to be careful when someone says they're a believer and they behave this way, you don't have any fellowship with them. And that's real, okay? That's coming from the apostles, and that would be a commandment of Yeshua. He's the Word made flesh. 2 Thessalonians 3:6. Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, that you withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition he received of us, the apostles. Okay? And the apostles never told you to go celebrate Christmas. Okay, 2 Thessalonians 2, 14 to 16. King James again. It's all King James. And if any man obey not, all the scriptures I'm doing today are King James, any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man, and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed, yet count him not as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. So if any man obey not our word, this epistle, note that man, and have no company with him. Don't fellowship with him to try to get him ashamed that he snaps back into the gospel. Yet count him not as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. But you don't hang out with him. Keep not company, okay? That's the ones that say they're a brother or a believer and behave incorrectly. Now, 2 Timothy 3, verse 1 to 6. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters. Covetous is everything's about money. Boasters, puffed up with themselves, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural. I lost my place. Unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. And it says, having a form of godliness, yet denying the power thereof, from such turn away. They deny, when they don't fear God, they deny the power. If they were not denying the power of God, they would fear him. Got it? Okay. Next, Ephesians 5:11. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Have no fellowship with the unfruitful work. Well, the Christmas celebrations would be an unfruitful work of darkness, nothing but. Have no, but rather reprove them. Don't have fellowship with them, but reprove them, expose them. So you could tell your family why, or your friends, why you're not going. You know, that would be scriptural. You could glance over it, you could dwell on it, whatever you want to do. And if they're not believers, you could just tell them you're not going, I guess, or you could explain it to them too. Depends. Romans 16:17. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division. That's your denominations, everyone. And the churches that follow that, and the Messianic congregations that follow the Messianic umbrella organizations like Union of Messianic Congregations, So it says, and I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions. Divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine. This is an offense contrary to the doctrine. Celebrating pagan feasts, which you have learned, and avoid them. So Titus 3:10-11. A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition reject, knowing that he that is such is subverted and sinneth, being confirmed of himself. So you stay away from them. Titus 1:16. They profess that they know God, but in works they deny him, being abominable and disobedient, and unto every good work reprobate. 2 John 1:10-11. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, the doctrine of the apostles, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed, for he that biddeth him Godspeed, or you say hello to him or greet him, is a partaker of his evil deeds. So this is brings not this doctrine. So that would mean the pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib rapture, those that say the Lord's not dead, and all this other sick stuff. There's never going to be another temple. And, that's the other gospels they're preaching, and that's a bad thing. 2 John 1:10-11. If there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine. Oh, I think I just did this. Sorry. And bring them into sound. Okay. Now we go to Matthew 18:17. And if he shall neglect to hear the church, the ecclesia, the called out from among ones, let him be unto thee as a heathen man. So it's basically saying that you would bring him, according to the way the church is set up, you would bring him in front of the church or the congregation. If you were in a kehillah and he was still clinging to Schofield or something like that, touch not, taste not, or any break in the doctrine, you would take him in front of the church, and he would have a chance to ask questions and counter argument and all that stuff. He would lose, and then if he's not going to pay attention to the church, you try it twice, and then you just disfellowship him. You say you're out of the congregation because you don't believe like us. You believe in aberrant doctrines. By the way, I would think that it is Trump's plan to get the oil away from the Arab countries, too. Remember, he's in Syria. They got oil. He's got his military in Syria. He's fighting in Syria. Let's find out how much oil Syria has. What is the size of Syria oil reserves? Oh, just 2.5 billion barrels. And if a barrel is $200 or $300 times 2.5 billion, So he's also involved in this here. So if you haven't figured it out yet, he's following a path with oil. Now, does Ukraine have oil? I don't really know, but I could find out in a few seconds. Does Ukraine have oil reserves, and if so, how big are they? No, it's not much. About 400 million barrels. It's something, but it's not a lot. How big were the Sinai Peninsula oil reserves that they made us give back to Egypt? Let's take a look. How large are the Sinai Peninsula oil reserves that Israel had to return to Egypt? They don't give you any figures what it is in the Sinai, but they say that in the total amount of years that we had it, which was, I think it went from uh, 70, well, we got it in 73. We got it about 9 years, I think. And the total amount that we pumped out during those years was about 2.2 billion barrels. Uh, oh, no. $2.2 billion worth. They put it in monetary terms. Uh, it wasn't that big. It at the time, late 70s into the early 80s, the latter 70s anyway, it was only giving Israel 1/4 of its total oil consumption. And Israel was a lot smaller back then, so it wasn't such a huge reserve, you know. But they made sure we gave it back. They didn't want us having any oil. With the Leviathan natural gas field, which is huge, the Israeli public fought against Netanyahu for at least 5 or 6 years. Netanyahu would not, what the people who were correct in Israel wanted to do was bring that natural gas into Israel and provide the natural gas to the Israelis at a very cheap price, probably just to cover the cost of, excavating it and bringing it into Israel. So Israel would have been able to convert their cars to liquid natural gas, but Netanyahu didn't want that because they have a $3 per gallon tax on the oil. So that scumbag wanted to get the oil for the government so he could spend it and get kickbacks. They caught him with kickbacks on German submarines. $25 million went to his cousin, a lawyer in Europe. So he had the cousin negotiate the deal and earn $25 million for it. What kind of garbage is that? They made the money come back to Israel. That one he got caught on. See what I'm saying? He's a piece of garbage. He's an abomination. It's a curse on Israel. So, just pathetic. So he fought against us, and he kept telling us, Israel can't afford to do it. We need partners. His partner originally was Dick Cheney, a real piece of dirt. So Cheney sold it, and it wound up with Chevron as a partner. And the people told Netanyahu, they were trying to work straight-faced with him, we should have been tossing the garbage bucket heavily. But he wouldn't give in. He wouldn't let Israel have this because then Israel wouldn't be paying the $3 a gallon tax on the gasoline. And Israel would be converting. You could easily, they sell it now if you want to do it. You could do it, convert your appliances to natural gas. The stoves are typically on natural gas. It's easy to get an oven on natural gas. Okay. You could run your air conditioners on natural gas. Yeah. You could run your lights if you want to. You could run, but what they would probably run on natural gas would be not the solar heater because that's free. They would run the burners in the kitchen, the oven, maybe the dishwasher. I don't know if they'd bother, and the cars. They wouldn't convert the electric. Other appliances that you want, you could get to run. You could run your washer and dryer. The dryer, the clothes dryer, would be a good one to run on propane. You could run the washer and dryer on it too. So the more appliances you run on it, the better you're going to be. So it would have provided, and you could convert cars rather inexpensively to run on propane. So it would really have helped the economy in Israel. And then he said, no, we can't afford it. And then the people said, no, we can. We just sell shares to make sure we got 51% and people can invest. And, they'll get a return on their investment. And if there's any that's not being used, we could export it. And he fought that. Just like with the ultra Orthodox. It's an evil law he wants to promote with the ultra Orthodox, that their children are better than the other people's children, and the other people should go let their kids get killed in the military. But no, the ultra Orthodox are the Aryan race of Israel. Sick piece of garbage. He must hate Israel to behave this way. That's all I have to say. This is what he does, So now he's selling it to Egypt. But it's Chevron that owns a bunch of it. And, there's going to be some that's going to go into the Israel coffers. That's for sure. So at least we'll get something out of it. But it never should have been done that way. It should have been done to help the people of Israel get off of the petroleum, off the oil, the gasoline, and it could have done that. I know years ago you were able to convert a little Toyota or something like that for maybe $500 or $600 or even less to run on propane, and you put the tank in your trunk. And then you went to a station and you had a hose you put on the tank in the trunk and you filled the propane. And I don't know how many miles you got on it. I think that would depend on the trunk size for these little cars. I think they mostly got something like 60, 80 miles on the tank. But you were able to still have a gas tank, and somehow you could switch it over. Maybe you had to clean it out. I don't even remember. But it wasn't, and you probably could have got a bigger tank and go 200 miles or something like that. So yeah, it was possible. Now maybe with the electric cars, it wasn't such a great move. I don't know, but electric cars are expensive to charge the battery. Now someday they might be able to. Now, what if you could rig your electric car to charge the battery on solar panels? Let me explain. You buy 5 or 6 solar panels and you have them hooked up to a battery, and that's not in the car. And then you want to switch the battery. Well, the problem is the batteries are very, very heavy. They're probably 200-300 pounds or something like that. So you can't switch them very easily. So that wouldn't work. Now you could probably take the car and leave the battery in there and have a hookup to charge the battery directly with the solar panels. Why not? But I don't know if 4 or 5 panels would charge it in 6 or 8 hours of daylight. Maybe you'd need 8 or 10 panels. I doubt it, but maybe you did. Okay, so you buy 8 or 10 panels. The problem is if it's cloudy, you're not going anywhere. That's a problem. So you'd have to have a special kind of hybrid car that you could drive just on a gasoline engine, and you could drive it just on the battery, and you could also drive it as a hybrid with both. So if you had a car like that, you'd be better, because if you run out of your battery, you throw a switch and you run on your gasoline, so you always keep 5 or 6 gallons in your car, so or more, so you could always get around on the gasoline if you had to. Israel would be capable of making those, but Netanyahu doesn't want to see cars made in Israel because they get 100 to 150% tax on buying a car. And if it was a domestic car, that tax wouldn't apply. So he's completely against us having a car that you don't have to pay that tax on. Plus, it would make life easier for the Israelis. They'd all buy the Israeli car. So we had a car in the 50s. We had a car company. So they had a station wagon. They had, I think, a 2-door, 4-door, and a convertible. Did they have a pickup truck? I don't know. So I don't think so. Back then, station wagons were way more popular than a pickup truck. With the full-size car, station wagons, when you folded the rear, a lot of them had 3 rows of seats. They had a front seat, then they had a bench seat, the back seat, and they had another bench seat that sometimes faced towards the rear, sometimes towards the front, and that's where the kids would often sit. And when you folded the seats down for the 3rd row and the 2nd row, there was a huge amount. Like if you had a full-size Ford Galaxy 500 station wagon, which I had once, I had one, it's a 60-something model, I think. 67 maybe, or 65, something like that. I had it when I was going to graduate school. It's a really good huge car. I mean, the station wagon was huge. Now, if you got a Mercury or a big Buick station wagon, it would have been bigger yet. But the full-size Ford or Chevy station wagon was plenty big. You could put, at times you could put furniture in there. If you were going on a trip, you could put a tremendous amount of luggage in the thing, even with the back seat folded up, so people could sit on it. You still had a huge amount of space. The cars back then, the trunks were huge. You could put 6, 7 big suitcases in your trunk. They were huge. I mean, they were low. They went deep. They went in the back. I mean, you could load your car up with luggage. So the station wagons took, I mean, there were people that still needed pickup trucks, but those were pretty much used for people that were throwing all kinds of stuff in there for work. Station wagons also were for work because if people had things that could be stolen, they didn't want it in the back of a pickup truck. People would just help themselves. They wanted it in a station wagon, or they could put a canopy on the back of the pickup truck or something like that. So you could get a ton of stuff in those cars, They really don't have them anymore. I mean, you were able to get Buick Electra size station wagons, and then you had the Olds 98 equivalent of a station wagon, or the Buick Electra station wagon or something. You had such big station wagons. I mean, you could go shopping and buy a dresser and put it in there, buy bookcases and put them in there. Loads of stuff. Now, you couldn't get a dresser and stand it up. You didn't have the height that you would with a pickup truck, Now, today they got an SUV, which is more or less a pickup truck, a station wagon, rather. It's more or less a station wagon, but it's built on a pickup truck type body, and it had more height in it. But I had a Lincoln Navigator and it took a ton of luggage. I had 3 rows of seats, and if you just closed the third row and filled it up with luggage, oh man, you could get 6 or 7 suitcases in that thing. If you put the second row of seats down, you'd only had seats for the front row. You can probably put, I don't know, 12, 15 suitcases in there. I mean, you could load it up with all kinds of stuff. You know, I remember many years ago, I had one of those Lincolns with the 2-door version with the nice grill. I don't remember what they called them. It was a Lincoln Continental. It was really like riding around in your living room. You were able to put. I bought some dressers. I put dressers in the trunk once. You could buy. You couldn't put much inside the car because it was a 2-door. You couldn't really manipulate stuff, but the trunk was huge. You could put, buy a bookcase and put it in there, buy all kinds of stuff and put it in there. It was very easy to do. It wasn't hard to do. So, uh, so I think we kind of covered everything. Let me see if I can see take a look at the live stream. I don't know if I can or not. Let's see. See if I can get it to turn on. Yeah, let me see if I can. All right, I can't see how many people are in there. Let me see if I can read it on this. Such a I can't tell much from this. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I could tell how many people maybe I can post are in. I don't know. I'm just getting fed up with YouTube. They just get worse and worse. All right, I'll come up with a prayer for us now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households and families that we would all have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you. We would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole, and our animals and pets would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And we would have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us. We wouldn't get sick or hurt, and we'd keep on healing. And I pray that we would all have adequate finances and then extra, and we would have a good amount of clients and customers for our businesses, and you would bless our businesses. And if we need jobs and work, you would find that for us and help us get such. I pray we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any cars or vehicles or transportation methods. And we don't get swindled, cheated, robbed, ripped off, discriminated against, frauded, scammed. And I pray that we would have your peace, joy, calm, rest, love, and you would pour your spirit out on us, and we would understand the scriptures better. And I pray that I could do better Bible studies. And I pray that we pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray you would lift off us any of the works of the unclean spirits, loose off us any of the works of the unclean spirits or those that serve them. And I pray that we would have no trouble sleeping at night. We would have nice, joyful, restful sleep that would be sweet, and we'd wake up at a good hour. And I pray that the unclean spirits cannot surveillance us in our houses or vehicles or anywhere else, nor our vehicles, nor our animals and pets. No matter what, they're not allowed to surveillance us, and they cannot know our whereabouts. They cannot see in our houses or vehicles or know what's going on inside these things. And I pray all this to you, my heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And again, guys, I still need some more help for getting through the end of the month. As I told you, I got some of the money I thought I could put into my bank. I can't because it's in 3 different currencies, and PayPal's not letting me convert it to put it in my bank. I could only convert it if I want to spend it, and I don't want to spend it. That's unique to PayPal Israel, and it's annoying. And it used to be you could do it, but you can't do it anymore. That was not nice of them, but they did it. So I need some more help, guys. Not a lot, but I need some so I can get through the end of the month. I got to not only pay the rent, I got to pay the property taxes, I got to pay the electric, we get water bills, we get phone bills, we get internet bills. Of course, of the ministry, I've got 3 internet providers, so if they go down, the chances are I've got one that's going to work. Okay. Actually, one of them's for the guest house, but I have used it in the past if I had to. So we need those to make things work. And we need cell phones. We got cell phone bills, and there's bills we got to pay. We got to eat. We had to recently make house repairs. We've got a lady that cleans the house for us because it's pretty hard at our advanced years to do a good job on that. So she comes twice a week. She's a believer, so it's kind of a ministry also. And so I just ask you guys, I don't ever want to get to this point again. I hope it never happens. It's the only time it ever happened. But I need a little bit more to get out of the thing. So I'm almost there. If you don't pay your bills or you can't pay your bills, it gets ugly here. It does. All right. So thank you. Thank you for the help you've been giving me. And it's not going to take a lot. I'll be there. Then that pays rent for 3 months. Then it's easy. And I hope we're not even here living in this rotten world for 3 months more. Which reminds me, let's do a prayer. I'll give you a prayer, and like with the first, you can agree with it if you're a believer. So, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray, and I believe many are going to agree with me. I pray that you would bring us out from under the people that have the yoke around our neck in Israel, and you would end the daughter of Babylon and bring the people here on the next great Exodus, and you would usher in redemption quickly. It says you have not because you ask not, and I certainly want to ask that you would do these things for us as quick as possible, because I know we're all not happy, putting it that way mildly, over what life is like in these latter days. And so I pray for this speedy advance as quick as you possibly can, Father God Jehovah. And I pray this B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, so we'll keep praying that just to make sure we're not ignoring that. And All right, so I'm out, and I hope you got something out of this. Thank you.